This is Aubrey Larkin, your Director of Human Resources and Staff Development with a few HR updates. Um, in my video today, I'm going to talk to you about leave as it relates to remote learning, as well as the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, also known as emergency leave. We will also talk about what happens when an employee tests positive for COVID-19, and then I'll end my session with you today with a review of our employees' expectations of excellence, as well as tell you about a new exciting program, the Employee Assistance Program. As it stands right now, leave, we still have our regular leave, sick leave, personal leave, vacation, and in applicable instances, military leave and Family Medical Leave Act. In instances where we are in the building or whether we're not in the building, please keep in mind that all Selma City School employees have a 5-day work week, with the understanding that some of our employees will be working alternate days. But please again keep in mind that we are expecting you to remain on duty, and we have expectations for your job responsibilities each day of the week. If for whatever reason you are unable to fulfill your duties, whether it be to come into the building itself or to work remotely, we do expect you to take leave for that day or the time that you are unaccessible. Please know that as it relates to the coronavirus or COVID-19, employees are required, according to CDC guidelines, you are required to disclose a positive test result for COVID-19 to your immediate supervisor, as well as if you're having any symptoms of COVID-19. We are requiring, and that is in line with CDC guidelines, we're requiring you to please notify your immediate supervisor should that be applicable to you. If an employee has COVID-19 symptoms and are unable to work, and also if working remotely is not an option, or if the employee is not able to fulfill their obligations remotely, leave must be taken. One leave that is allowed now, which is through a federal legislation, is the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act, also known as the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. And there are 6 parameters that must be met to qualify for that leave. The first one is that you yourself must be subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19. And in that instance, you would be eligible to receive 100% of your days that you're out for up to 10 days. Okay, the second parameter that must be met, and this is again for the employee, him or herself, you have been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine related to COVID-19. If you meet this particular qualification, you would qualify for 100% of your time taken off for up to 10 work days. The next one is that if you are experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and are actively seeking a medical diagnosis, for this particular parameter, you will be eligible for 100% of your time off for up to 10 days. Now, there are 3 more parameters that I'm going to go over with you, but these relate to if you're caring for a spouse or a child or a close family member. If you are caring for an individual subject to an order described as either a self-quarantine or described as a self-isolation, you will be eligible for 67% of your time off for up to 10 days. Now, that's different from the first 3. Under this act, you're only eligible for 67%, which means there's still 43% that needs to be covered in either another type of leave, whether it be sick leave, or it can also be unpaid leave as well. If you're caring for a child whose school or place of care is closed for reasons related to COVID-19, you will qualify for 67% of your time off for up to 10 days. Okay? And if you are experiencing any other substantially similar condition specified by the Secretary of Health and Human Services in consultation with the Secretaries of Labor and Treasury. And again, this one is for 67% of your time off. But keep in mind, with those that are 67%, you may use your sick leave to run concurrently to cover the 43%. We are going to use our same process to cover, to request leave. We're going to ask that you continue to use the same process. However, if you do meet one of those 6 qualifications, you will just need to indicate that it is the Emergency Paid Leave Act. And myself and our superintendent will be looking at those on a case-by-case basis and making those approvals or denials. The next thing I want to talk to you about is what happens if an employee tests positive for COVID-19. As I said before, it is required that all employees notify their immediate supervisors should they receive a positive test result. And the immediate supervisor, whether it be your principal or if you're working in the central office, it will be Dr. Williams, that they will in turn notify the school nurse or our lead nurse, Mrs. Austin. If a positive test is occurred, he or she must quarantine for 10 days and remain quarantined until the conclusion of the 10th day. Also, you must be fever-free for 3 days. Any respiratory symptoms that were apparent, they must be improved, and it has been 10 days since the symptoms first appeared. Now, that is if the employee actually tests positive themselves. The school nurse will then determine who was in close contact with that employee, and she will be using the 6-15 rule, which means if you were closer than 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes to a positive tested person, then you will be considered what they call a close contact. Close contacts will be isolated and sent home until COVID-19 is confirmed or other diagnosis is confirmed. If confirmed, close contacts will need to self-quarantine for 14 days. Areas affected or areas used by COVID-positive persons must be evacuated, cleaned, and disinfected before use can resume. And let me just put this piece in here as it relates to confidentiality. We all know that the Alabama Code of Ethics talks very, very seriously about confidentiality, and we are living in unparalleled times. So there will inevitably be a time where we may know of a student or a co-worker that has COVID-19 symptoms or may have a relative that has COVID-19 symptoms. That is to be kept under the most strictest of confidence. Now, as the nurse and the principal are asking questions to find out who came in contact with that person, they will try their best to be as anonymous as possible. But again, we do want to remind all of our employees to observe confidentiality at all times. I also want to take this opportunity to remind everyone of our employee expectations of excellence. You will be receiving a link for a DocuSign where you can sign this document electronically. This is the same document of expectations that you all signed at the beginning of the school year last year. And it has 12 very, very comprehensive expectations that we are expecting all of our employees to uphold. And the last thing that I would like to mention to you all is a new and exciting opportunity called the Selma City Schools Employee Assistance Program. We want to thank Dr. Williams for her vision, as well as our school board for approving these services for us. But basically, this is just what it says, an assistance program for all of our employees. It includes it can include financial services, 30 minutes consultation with a certified financial planner on debt or budgeting, retirement, financial planning, and tax questions, legal services, 30 minutes free in person or over the phone addressing a variety of legal matters, identity theft consultations, elder care services, and these are just to name a few. But I want you to know one thing as it relates to this. This is done through an outside entity where confidentiality will be held at the utmost of importance. And we do advise our employees to please take advantage of this excellent opportunity. Thank you all, and let's have a great year, and go Team Selma.